bookworms, welcome back to my channel and to another list video. Now yes, I know it's not Halloween, nor is it Friday the 13th. I simply really like good horror novels. So in this video I will share with you my top 5 unique haunted house novels. Now, the haunted house genre is a very prevalent one with roots in the 19th century Gothic novel, thus it has many variations throughout the years with different tweaks based on times, culture, and the fashion of the time. So the books I will mention today are all, in a way, not your usual haunted house story, but all add a certain twist to this genre. And of course, all full reviews of the mentioned books will be linked in the description box. But before I'll get into the list itself, if you are a new watcher, then hello and welcome. I upload bookish content every other Friday, mostly book reviews that range from classic novels to hidden gems. So if this is something that you're interested in, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell so that you won't miss any new video I upload. And now to the list. But I will start with an honorable mention, and this is A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. And the reason that this is just an honorable mention is because I thought it wasn't fair to include it in the actual list because it doesn't actually have any ghosts in it. In the 2 books by this author that I've read, he uses real-life terrifying events and turned them into more classic horror. In this case, we have a young girl who suffers from a mental illness so severe, it kind of looks as if she's possessed. This is a wonderful book about an absolutely terrible tragedy, and if you have the stomach for it, I highly recommend it. But again, since this book doesn't actually have any ghosts in it or any other supernatural things, for sure it will stay as an honorable mention. But at number 5 on the actual list, we have Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. The first unique thing about this book is that it's the only one on this list which is a parody. This is actually a horror comedy. It takes place in Orsk, an IKEA-style store, as you can see from the cover, and follows a bunch of co-workers who stay there overnight to figure out what's behind some strange occurrences that have been happening lately. And they find out much more than what they bargained for. Now, the twist on this genre is not hard to find. First off, it's not a haunted house, it's a haunted store, but I really liked how Hendrix took the difference between a house and a store and turned the genre on its head. The reason haunted houses are so scary is because this is where you live, where you feel at home, which is the danger. But this is a store where even the most loyal employees don't see it as home. You can really see interesting parallels and twists, my favorite one being how the store is designed in a way that would trap customers for a long time and the exits are hard to find. A twist on the whole "we can't get out" from regular haunted house novels. So if you're not too squeamish, I would completely recommend this strange and unique book. Also, you can just use it as a coffee table book. Next, at number 4, we have a classic that by now maybe doesn't look all that unique, but was completely a game changer at the time, and I had to include it. And this is, of course, The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. Now, if you know this one, and you should, you're probably raising your eyebrows thinking, yeah, well, there are more unique stories out there. But are there? Really? If you don't know the story, this looks from the outside like your typical classic Gothic novel. A governess is hired to take care of 2 orphans and starts suspecting that the house is haunted by its former dead employees, only she's the only one who can see them. Now, James was definitely not the first person who used the unreliable narrator trope, but he certainly put it on a map, especially in this subgenre, because, spoiler alert, it's never revealed if the ghosts are actually real or not, which could mean that everything we read about could have been just a fantasy of a mentally ill woman. This novella became the epitome of the are there ghosts or is she crazy trope, which was by now used to death in both horror and thrillers. I mean, just switch ghosts with killer and you pretty much have the girl in the window, the girl on the train, and probably a bunch of other girls I didn't read about. But this novella deserves its place here due to the imaginative twist on a genre that can potentially turn it on its head. Or maybe not. Also, another small honorable mention is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware, which is a very good modern adaptation of The Turn of the Screw. And yes, of course, I reviewed this book as well, and I will link it also in the description box. Next, at number 3, we have An English Ghost Story by Kim Newman. Now, despite reading some less than stellar books by him, I still absolutely love Kim Newman. And if you're already read every Neil Gaiman work out there and want some more, Kim Newman might be right up your alley. Now, this novel is about a dysfunctional family that moves to an old, huge house thinking that this can solve their marital and familial issues, only to discover that they might not be alone in the house. Sounds like your typical ghost story, I know, but what I found so unique about this novel is the ghosts themselves, their motives, how they appear and how they interact with different family members. Usually in those kind of stories, the ghosts have their own personalities. They are an angry child who takes revenge on parents, for example, or make men crazy and cause them to kill their families, whatever. But here, it's almost as if the ghosts were totally benign and chill until this family arrived and they were just sensitive to their troubles. Therefore, each family member gets their own different encounter, which is completely affected by their own issues. Almost as if the family brought the ghost with them to the house. It's very psychological and very interesting. And also very dark, so despite it not being complete classic ghost story, you still get the fun of one. Okay, now we're getting to my 2 favorite books on this list. At number 2, we have No One Gets Out Alive by Adam Neville, about young Stephanie who finds herself fending for herself with no money nor any support net, so she rents a tiny home in an old dilapidated house with a huge creep as a landlord. What's unique about this novel is the fact that, similarly to A Head Full of Ghosts, it uses real-life horror and combines them with fantasy horror genre. The main difference is that in this one there are definitely ghosts, so don't worry about it. And the real-life horror is the fact that Stephanie is a young woman who is at the mercy of a very scary and violent man who is physically stronger than her and proves to be the type who, with a blink of an eye, could rape her, kill her, sell her as a sex worker, and she could do absolutely nothing in order to stop him. All books on this list are dark, some are scarier or gorier than others, but this is the only one that really shows the horrific, ugly truth of what many women are facing every day. It's not always to the extent of the book's victims, but even women in financially abusive relationships, where the abuser holds all access to their money and thus leave them dependent on him, can relate. A huge trigger warning for this book, but definitely worth the read. And finally, at number 1, we have The Little Stranger by Sarah Waters, one of those books I had no idea I would love as much as I did. Taking place in the early 20th century, we have a big house here with an old money family that by now became a fraction of their former selves and, like the house itself, have seen better days. The protagonist here is a doctor and friend to the family who always idealized the house as a kid, but as an adult has more time to spend in it, especially after strange things starts happening that bring up the concern that maybe there are supernatural things going on. I don't think I can do this brilliant book justice and explain just how cleverly it's written, especially everything related to the potential ghosts. Similarly to An English Ghost Story, whatever supernatural things are going on here heavily rely on the past traumas of the house occupants, and even though it's never clearly stated in the novel, I have a theory regarding the ghosts and even the ambiguous ending of the novel, and if you want more info, check out my review on the book. There is a clear parallel between the state of the house and the state of the family living in it. There are strong emotions here, memories of better times, of family members who died, and one can say even they're ghosts, as in everything in the house reminds the other family members of them. Every family member deals with such psychological issues. There are a lot of bad, sad energy in the house, and the refusal to move on is what, in my opinion, created these ghosts. And this is why even people who don't believe in the afterlife or ghosts can relate to some of the family's experiences. I'm not talking about things moving on their own, but things like finding new things belonging to a family member who died, which kinds of bring them back in your memory. Anyway, this book is absolutely brilliant. The relationship between the family members and the ghosts and the house itself is just so well written. And again, I don't think I can do this any justice here, so I do recommend checking out my review, or even better, reading the book. And Bookworms, those were my 5 most unique haunted house novels. I had a really hard time picking only 5, and I really contemplated whether I should put The Haunting on Hill House here. If you're wondering where it is, it's just not as a twist of a genre for me to put it here. Anyway, it was such a difficult task to pick only 5. But don't worry, I will put the review of The Haunting of Hill House and some other similar reviews in the description box for you if you're anything like me and you really enjoy this genre. But if you think I missed some good choices, maybe you want to put House of Leaves here, I don't know. Don't forget to write me in the comments section what is your favorite haunted house novel, whether traditional or with a twist, and if you are a believer in the supernatural and ghosts. Did you ever encounter one? Do you live maybe in a haunted house? Sometimes I believe that I live in a haunted apartment. My ghosts are totally benign. My cat talks to them all the time, but I sometimes think that, if you at least share our space, also share some of the housework every now and then. Don't turn on lights I just turn off. Clean a dish or something. That's not too much to ask, right? Anyway, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to like it, share it to the world, and comment on your ghostly favorites. Guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye bye.